This Friday from 2 till 4 on the Radio 5 Live Film Review Show, our special guest is Gareth Evans. Now, you may not have heard of him, but you will almost certainly have heard of his new film, The Raid. If you've been to the cinema recently, you may well have seen a trailer for it, a really exciting, action-packed trailer. The critics have been drooling all over the movie. It's been a huge festival hit, and it looks set to become a massive box office hit here in the UK, and rightly so, because it is one of the most excitingly, deliriously violent movies I've seen in a long time. Now, Evans is an interesting case. He's in his early 30s, and he describes his rise to success like this. He says he was living in Cardiff, really enjoying the weekends, but basically not fulfilling his artistic aspirations during the week. His Japanese-Indonesian wife used her contacts to get him a gig directing a documentary about martial arts. Feature films followed, and now we have The Raid, which looks set to be the hottest action movie of the year. Talking about The Raid, Evans has been fantastically upfront about the films which inspired him. He says, for example, it's set in a tower block because he really loved Die Hard. The sense of claustrophobia comes from John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. And every morning he showed the crew Roman Gavris's video for MIA's Born Free with its SWAT team. Now, a number of things impressed me about The Raid, not least the fact that at such a tender age, Evans has made such a confident movie. More importantly, however, watching it reminded me just how much action movies, and more specifically martial arts movies, come very close to the territory of musicals, another genre that I love. Back in the 1970s, Bruce Lee was the great action hero, and his fight sequences often played out just like highly choreographed dance numbers. In fact, if you're as old as I am, you'll remember that in the charts we had Kung Fu Fighting as a disco hit, followed very closely by Dance the Kung Fu. Meanwhile, Elvis was on stage in Vegas doing dance routines that were entirely based on karate moves. And that started me thinking about classic movies like, for example, Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, a very controversial movie, of course, but perhaps the most controversial scene in that film is where Malcolm McDowell's droog, Alex, assaults somebody, and his assault somehow turns into a song and dance number. As he's kicking and punching them, he starts singing in the Rain. And then I thought about Abel Ferrara saying that he cast Christopher Walken as the title role in King of New York as the terrifying gang boss, partly because Christopher Walken walks like a dancer. And then, of course, there are the films of Sam Peckinpah, described time and time again as a ballet of bloodshed. Unsurprisingly, Evans cites Peckinpah as a huge influence and says that he aspires to making those kind of movies in which the violent set pieces actually mean something. But I think, more importantly, in which the violent set pieces play out like musical numbers. So, here's my question to you. What is the most impressively choreographed fight scene you've ever seen? Not the nastiest, not the most vicious, not the most violent, but the most impressively choreographed fight sequence you can remember. Let me know, and tune into the Radio 5 live show 2 till 4 this Friday to hear it from the horse's mouth from Gareth Evans.